Okay, this is the video for lesson 324, multiplication of decimals. The daily learning target is, by the end of the period, the students will review multiplication of decimals. In class, this video will cover 3-64 to 3-68, and the homework tonight is 3-73 to 3-77. In class, 3-64 to 3-68, lesson 324, multiplication of decimals. Question 64. Oh, it's a long one. So when I get to D, I need to move the paper up. Okay. Question 64. Howard went to the mall and saw a banner announcing all sporting goods 1/10 off. He saw a pair of rollerblade laces for only 40 cents and wanted to find out how much he would save. With your team, follow the steps below to help Howard determine his savings. Okay. Obtain a copy of the 100 grid. So this is a 100 grid because it's a grid. It's a rectangle, a square cut into 100. Okay. Which you will be using throughout this lesson. 100 grids are larger versions of unit tiles. Each side measures 1 unit. Okay, so each of these sides here is 1. You see that? 1. Okay, now my pen's not working. 1. 1, not real straight. Anyways. Another pen. A. What is the perimeter of the 100 grid? So perimeter, remember, perimeter is going all around the shape. So this is 4 units. What's the area? Length times width, 1 times 1 is 1 unit squared. Right. What do each of the small squares in the grid represent? Write your answer in 3 forms. So as a fraction, it's 1/100. So one of these little squares right here is 1 out of 100 squares. So then as a decimal, it's 0.01, and as a percent, it's 1%. Why do you think it's called hundredths grid? Because the grid is divided into 100 squares. How we do? Okay. Scoop this up. Can I get the whole thing in? No. 40 cents, which is, I'm going to put the whole rest of it in there so I don't have to move it again. Okay. 40 cents. The cost of Howard's laces can also be written as 0.40 or simply as 0.4. On your resource paper of the hundreds grid, lightly shade and label it as 0.4. Okay, so 40 over 100 is like there's 10, 20, come on, look, 30, 40. Okay. Next, in the other direction, so we went up and down this direction. Now we're going to go this way, in the other direction. Label 1/10. So here's 1/10. Okay. What is the fraction of the grid that is double shaded? So this part down here, you see that? I'm not doing a very good job. Got double shaded. So that would be 4 out of 100. Okay. What is the decimal equivalent to that? 0.04. F. Write 2 equations that represent this process, one using fractions and one using decimals. So as a fraction, I did 4/10 one way, and the other way I went 1/10. And this, if I multiply across, I'll get 4 hundredths. As a decimal, 4/10 looks like 0.4, and 1/10 looks like 0.1, and as a decimal, it's 0.04. How much money will Howard save on the laces on sale? He will save 4 cents. Or if you want to write it this way, 0.04. Okay, 4 cents. Okay. Let's go to the next page. Question 65. Might need 2 different colors of pencil here or pen, whichever you prefer. Okay, 65. Get all that 65 in there? Yeah. While at the sporting goods store, Howard found some new running shoes advertised to weigh only 70% as much as his old running shoes. His old running shoes weighed 0.8, or I'm going to say this is 0.8. Use the problems below to determine how much the new shoes weigh. Use the hundreds grid to find 70% of 0.8. Okay, so 0.8, which is 0.8, I'm going to mark that here. So I'm going to go this way. So here's 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10. Okay, so then the shoes are 70%. So 70% is the same as 0.7. So I'm going to go, so we went this way with the 0.8. No. We went up and down. Sorry. So then the 0.7, I want to go up and down. No, I want to go left and right. Never mind. I want to go do 7/10. So here's, how do I do this? There's 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10. Okay. So then, write a fraction equation of this problem. So 0.8 is 8/10. 0.7 is 7/10. 7 times 8 is 56. 10 times 10 is 100. Write the decimal equivalent of this. So 0.8 times 0.7 equals 0.56. Do the new shoes weigh more or less than the old shoes? Well, they're supposed to weigh less. Yes. Okay. How much more or less? Okay, so the old shoes weighed 80 kilograms. The new shoes weigh 56 kilograms. So what's 80 minus 56? 0.24 kilograms. I guess that's important if you're running because you don't want a lot of weight on your feet. I wouldn't know. Alright, anyways. Question 66. Get the whole thing in there, Mrs. C. Alright. Another way to find about decimal multiplication is with the generic rectangle. Oh, do you remember these? What multiplication problem is represented by the generic rectangle? So across the top, it looks like it's 2.3 times, and up and down here, it's 1.4. This is a plus, by the way, not a multiply. Fill in the areas of each of the 4 sections. What math problem does each smaller section represent? Okay, so what's 2 times 1? It's 2. What's 0.3 times 1? It's 0.3. What's 2 times 0.4? It's 0.8. What's 0.4 times 0.3? It's 0.12. So then if we're going to add those up for B, I've got 2 plus 0.3 plus 0.8 plus 0.12. So it says, write the total area as both a sum and a product. Do your answers make sense? I don't know. What's my sum? 2 plus 0.3 plus 0.8 plus 0.12 equals 3.22. The product. 2.3 times 1.4 is 3.22. Did I get the same answer? This little blank up here is yes. Use the standard paper pencil method to multiply 2.3 and 1.4. Okay, let's do it down here. 2.3 times 1.4. Can you see it? Sit up a little bit, maybe. Alright. 3 times 4 is 12. Carry the 1. 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1 is 9. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 2 is 2. Add these up. 2. 2. Carry the 1. 3. 1, 2 decimal places. 1, 2 decimal places. Alright. Oh, let's put our decimal places here. So there was a decimal here. And there should be a decimal here. Do not use a calculator. Okay, I didn't. Where do you see the numbers in the standard algorithm that you see in the generic rectangle? They are inside the boxes or areas of the generic rectangle. Okay? Because this 0.92 came from here. You still see that? Yeah. And the 2.3 came from here. Alright. Let's go to the next page. Next page. Question 67. Judy is working on part D in the previous problem, trying to make sense of the standard algorithm for decimal multiplication. So far her work so far is shown at the right. Okay. Wait a minute, Judy said. I multiplied 2.3 by 0.4 and then I got 1. And then by 1, excuse me. How in the world should those products be 92 and 230? That doesn't make sense. Okay. But remember, Judy, on the front side, we put a decimal here and we put a decimal here before we added. Okay. So they're saying 2 times 3 times 0.4 should be 0.92. And 2.3 times 1 is 2.3. Okie dokie. So what is the answer? The answer is 3.22, and we're going to say C 3-66 part D, because that's where we showed our work. Okay. 68. Can you get the whole thing of 68 in there? Almost. I need to make sure the whole problem is in there. Okay, here we go. When multiplying decimals, how do you know where to place the decimal point? Think about this as you do parts A through D below. Write 2 equations for multiplying 0.3 by 0.16. One as factors and products using decimals, and one as fractions. Okay, so the decimal one's given to us. 0.3 times 0.16. So this, you just do like this. What's 3 times 16? It's 48. How many decimal places? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Put your decimal down. So then as a fraction, 3.3 is 3/10, and 0.16, is 16 over 100. Again, 3 times 16 is 48. 10 times 100 is 1,000. And this is 48 thousandths. In part A, you multiply tenths by hundredths to get thousands. Do you always get thousands when you multiply tenths by hundredths? Yes. Why or why not? So, 0.1, which is 1 decimal place, times hundredths which is 2 decimal places, equals 0.001, which is 3 decimal places. Okay, awesome. What do you get if you multiply tenths times tenths? Tenths times tenths is hundredths. Hundredths by hundredths. It's 4 zeros. You would get 10 thousandths. Okay. C. When a multiplication problem is written using decimals, there is a relationship between the number of decimal places in the parts or factors of the problem and the number of decimal places in your answer. Describe this relationship. Okay, you need to add the decimal places in the parts, that's in the parts or the factors, to get the total decimal places in the answer. Okay, D, one more. Describe a shortcut for locating the decimal point in the answer to a problem involving decimal multiplication. Count them, just count the decimal places in the parts. It should equal, God, what is wrong with my hand? This is equal the decimal places in the answer. Okay, good job. Is that it? Yep, that one's blank. All right. So that concludes 64 to 68. Your homework tonight is 3-73 to 3-77. All right. Bye-bye.